What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BREATHIN AIR podcast, where everyday action meets extraordinary mindset. Today, we have two amazing gentlemen, Mr. Mike Mannix and Sal LaGreca. They're the creators of the 5 L's, a book that is coming out at the end of July, The Gift of a Balanced Life. And they're also the creators of Unparalleled Performance. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Super excited to be here.
So I want to dive right in. No fluff here.
We're in trouble now.
There we go.
What caused you to want to help others? Why? Why do you care?
Wow,
That's a great question. Why don't you jump on that one?
Well, I'll tell you my side, Mason, and it actually led me to where I'm here today, and actually with Sal. To be totally candid, and to everybody that's listening, I didn't grow up with money by any stretch of the imagination. I worked my tail off for everything that I have. And, I had that mindset of, success was gauged on the amount of stuff that you have, right? The nice house, the nice car, being able to give my children the things that I didn't have growing up. So I was killing myself to do this, literally almost killing myself. And, I worked my way up the chain and got that C title. And my father, who's my hero, saw me doing this, right? My father was a full-time pharmacist by trade. He was a captain of the ambulance crew, volunteer, hence some of the money problems, right? And but he was also an adjunct professor teaching paramedics. And it doesn't get cooler than that. He was teaching people how to save others' lives. And he would literally and almost physically grab me sometimes, and sometimes I needed it. And he'd be like, Mike, stop. Because he would see me like driving myself into the ground, never being home or flying around the globe or around the country. And he said, you're missing the point, Mike. The true measure of success is gauged on the amount of lives you touch and leave for the better. Typical son. I know everything. He knows nothing, right? And I just, okay, Dad. And, I go on my merry way. And this went on for years and years and years. And unfortunately, 14 years ago, and forgive me, this it's hard for me to talk about this. 14 years ago, I was sitting with my father in a hospital room, actually in a doctor's office, to be exact, and a doctor we've known for many years. And my father just hadn't felt right for 2 months, just kind of sick, just a little nauseous. And that wasn't my dad. He was always healthy, and when he was sick, you would never know because he never complained. And after weeks of testing, the doctor came in and he sat down with us, and he put his hand on my father's knee and said, Mike, you've got stage 4 cancer. You've got 2 months left to live. And it's actually such a rare form of cancer that only 5 or 6 other people have had it in the US in the last 65 years. We don't even know how to treat it.
Wow.
Yeah. So my dad's in a book somewhere, not the kind of book you want to be in, he's in a medical journal. But leave it up to my dad, go big or go home. And my father, being my father, turned to the doctor and was like, nope, not going to happen. I was like, okay. And he fought it for 2 years. And I have to be honest with you. Look, even when he couldn't, because the chemo and the cancer itself, he couldn't practice pharmacy. He definitely could not ride the ambulance. Mason, he taught to the very last day, like right to the end, even if it was from a chair. This was his passion. This was his purpose. He wanted to help people, right? And when he finally did lose his battle to cancer, we held a wake for 3 nights. And every night out the door and around the block, hundreds and hundreds of people. Like, I've never seen this amount of people show up at a funeral. And each one of them came up to me. And here's the crazy part. People he hadn't seen in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 85 to 90% of them were his students. And they all came up to me one at a time and said, your dad changed my life. And that was like my aha moment. That's like when my world changed. And it's like, my father will be the most successful man that I will ever meet. And that's why I started down the path of, that's what makes the difference, is helping people and making people's lives better, right? That's the true measure of success. So
Absolutely.
That's my side.
Absolutely. Sal?
Which led me to this guy.
Yeah. So I'll give Sal the floor here. How did you guys meet?
Oh, that's a good story. It's actually funny.
It's a really good story. It's about 3 years ago, actually. I was having a dinner party at a house in Port Washington, New York, right overlooking Manhasset Bay. It was a Saturday night in July. It was a beautiful night. And having a few adult beverages, just, getting to know each other. I didn't know Mike at the time.
No, never met.
Mike's wife and my wife, Debbie, were very good friends. And so I got to meet him. So we're having fun looking at the sunset. And I get a call from somebody who worked for me and would never call me on a Saturday night. So I excused myself. I had to take it. I took the call, go inside. I'm talking to this guy. His name's Max. And he said, Sal, I hate to do this to you on a Saturday night, but I'm leaving.
Yeah,
I'm quitting. And I go, hey, Max, you can't do this. we got to talk, but it's Saturday night. I got people over at the house. Tomorrow, Sunday, why don't you, anytime you want, I'll give you all day tomorrow. Let's talk this thing through. He said, fine. So that was the plan. We'll talk on Sunday. So I come back out on the deck overlooking the water. And Debbie says to me, she sees my face and she goes, what happened? I said, well, Max just quit. And she goes, oh, that's your last L, the fifth L. And Captain Obvious, right? So he goes, what is this fifth L thing you're talking about? So then I went on to describe how I came up with the 5 L's many, many years ago, over 30 years ago. And, Mike, I didn't know that Mike was an adjunct professor of leadership at NYU. So he hears this 5 L's and he starts jumping up and down. He's so excited.
I was literally jumping up and down. So it could have been the beverages. I don't know.
I go, what are you so crazy about here? He goes, no, dude, I teach leadership and this 5 L's is like, it's so powerful. You got to write a book. And I'm like, I'm not writing a book. I could read a book. I am not writing a book. And that's it. And then it's funny because that was a Saturday. That Monday, now Mike was working full time where he was at as an executive. And he comes over to the house on Monday, that following Monday, 7:30, it's Mike. Mike, hey, and he's standing there. He's got whiteboards. He goes, we're going to write the book, right? I go,
true story.
So Mike, come on and have a drink. We're going to talk about this. Next thing you know, we're writing the book. So, and that's when we formed Unparalleled Performance, because I realized through Mike that, this thing is powerful. And based on his teaching expertise, he said, you got to get this out to the world. And that's how it started. The whole idea of the 5 L's happened a long time ago. I was just admitted to the partnership at KPMG, and first person in my family to go to college. I'm a butcher's son from the Bronx, New York, and I get money all the way to KPMG. I get admitted to the partnership, so I'm feeling pretty darn good. And the firm would pick a partner or a few partners each year and send them to Harvard to an executive management program. And I got selected. So again, kid from the Bronx, first person I'm going to Harvard.
Amazing.
So it was pretty cool. My mother being my mother, bring back a hat with the H on it and a shirt with the H on it. Yeah, Ma, I'll do all that. So I'll give you a real quick overview if you don't mind about how it started.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm at this Harvard Executive Management Program, and it's typical Harvard case study approach to solving business issues. But one class was very, very different, and it was called the Psychology of Success. And this professor comes in and asks a very, very simple question to the attendees, about 35 of us. How would you define success? And I'm sitting there going, well, that's easy, right? I just made partner in a major firm, the firm I wanted to be in. So, title for me, and I'm on my way to financial freedom. So money and title and money was how I defined success. And boy, was I shocked when the rest of the room, many people said the same thing, but a lot of people had different answers. Like, how about being a better person?
Yeah.
How about being a better partner, a better parent? And those things didn't hit me at the time, but I heard them and I went, wow, it isn't about the money or just the title. So this professor comes back a few days later and says, he reads it back to the class and goes, listen, I listened to all of you and how you define success. And I'm going to play it back to you. So here are the 10 things you need in your life to be successful.
10 things.
And I'm sitting there, Mason, going, whoa, I thought it was 2, money and title. It should be a little bit more than that, but 10? And I'm saying, I got to go back to the partnership at KPMG, the operating committee, and tell them what I learned at Harvard. And there's no way I'm going to tell these very successful people that you need 10 things in your life to be successful. I probably would have been out of the firm at that point. So I thought long and hard about it. And a lot of those things made sense, but 10 was way too many. And a lot of them overlapped. So a little bit of work. I got him into 5, and thought that would be a nice, easy way to remember them. 5 fingers, 5 toes, And something else was happening. A few of them were beginning with the letter L. And I said, wow, if I can get them all to begin with the letter L, then I can really remember this thing very simple, because that's the beginning of my last name, right? And that's what I did. I combined them all, so I had a little tool in my head that ultimately I would use, and I did use, sometimes more successfully than other times. But that's the 5 L's. So I'm going to give it to you real fast. Mike, you jump in.
Yeah.
On any of these. The first L of the 5 L's is love, right? Because without it, all else fails. We have nothing. And it's not just relationship love. It's really self-love.
Yeah.
So that's the first L. The second is laughter, right? Laughter. Do not take yourself too seriously in life, because you're going to fail and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. So we have love, laughter. The third is labor, right? We are wired as humans to produce, to do something. And if you're going to do it with passion and do it with purpose. So we have love, laughter, labor. The fourth L is leisure, right? You got to find some way that's personal to you that you can reconnect your batteries, just, recharge the batteries, disconnect from everything. We call it your me time.
Yeah.
You need your me time. And that could be anything for anybody. So we have love, laughter, labor, leisure. The fifth L, which I find, and many people do find to be probably the most difficult of the 5 L's, is leave. Leave. Know when to go. Know when it's over. Know when to pivot and adjust your sails and move on. And that could be anything. It could be a decision you've been living with. Many, many things. So that's the 5 L's: love, laughter, labor, leisure, leave. Alone, they have purpose. We like to say together they have power. And if you have these 5 L's in a balanced fashion in your life, you can just about get through anything. And that's the 5 L's. And that's the basis of the book. And you want to jump in there?
Yeah. Well, I think the whole key to it, Mason, is it's balance, right? And a lot of people hear that, 5 L's and love, laughter, labor, leisure. That's fluffy. What is this fluffy feel good stuff? And it's actually not. One of the things, as Sal mentioned, beyond when I was a global executive for many years, I was also an adjunct professor at NYU. Still am. Love it. Right. That's where my passion for doing all this came from. And so I'm the data geek, right? I'm the one that's like, science and tools, and you got to put stuff behind it, like tangible things that people can actually use. Because for us, as we mentioned in the beginning, we want to change people's lives for the better. We don't want them, reading our book and feeling good for a day or two and like, that was great, and then moving on. We want to give them something they can actually use for the rest of their life. So when you go into the different L's, especially when we're doing one of our events, or even you'll see it in the book, we're giving real scientific and data and tools that backs up each L. So it's very meaty. There's a lot of meat on the bone. So love, for example, if I asked you right at the gates, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the word love?
Family,
right? Most people say that. They'll say family, my children, my dog, whatever it is. People always say something other than themselves, usually. And that's the problem, right? There's something out there called the oxygen mask theory. Have you ever heard it?
No, I was going to ask you about that though. So I'd love to hear it.
There you go. Okay. So you've been on a plane before, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when the, flight attendants, they go through their check, you put this on, you wrap it around, you hit the water, a little light, you blow into all that kind of stuff. But they also say, in the unlikely event that the plane goes into, and this is key, crisis, right? The plane goes into distress. an oxygen mask will drop from the ceiling. Who do they tell you to put it on?
Yourself first.
You are no good
Right.
to anyone unless you help yourself first. And that is the core. And actually, believe it or not, all of the L's kind of roll up into self-love, because most people by nature are caretakers, especially, when we deal with the folks in the medical industry who've taken it the worst. Thank you, COVID-19. Our healthcare heroes have just been brutalized over the last 2 years. The burnout's insane. And it's probably not that we don't love helping all of our clients, but that is one of the ones that hit our heart the most, because we have family in it. And to be able to give them tools to deal with the stress and the burnout that they have right now, you can't put it into words. But but they're caretakers by nature. They take care of everything and everyone else first, right? They're last. And that's where we lose. That's where we're losing. Okay, that's the mistake. So it should be self-love. Then it's the proper love in your life, this right support of others, and it's having the right people in your life. And there's all these Harvard case studies on, how it makes your life longer and you better brain cognitive and all that stuff. And you folks can see that in the book or when we chat with them. But the other flip side of the coin is the energy vampires. You got to kind of lessen those people and, get them out of your life or their impact as much as possible. And here's the scary thing. Some of them are even family, right? So, right. And then it's love of what you do. So each one of the L's, each one that we go through is going to have that level of data in it. Just like laughter. Laughter isn't just not taking yourself too seriously. It's also about stress management, all the physical and mental benefits of not only laughter, but the power of positive thinking. Attitude of gratitude. Attitude of gratitude is actually a scientifically studied and proven way of changing your mindset. Same thing with labor. What are you doing for you, right? Leisure, me time, exercise, having a morning routine, not starting your day out with social media. Most people, this is what I love. Most people use this bad boy as their alarm clock, right? This thing goes off, they reach over, they're not even vertical yet. It's in front of their face. They've already let the world in and they're not even sitting up yet, right? So it's doing all these things and then leave for us at the end of the day. And we could actually have a whole other book on this. It's more about change management and embracing change, because people are scared of it. We're actually programmed as human beings to avoid change from prehistoric times because change meant scary. Scary is bad. Bad means you're getting eaten by something, right? So you're programmed to run away from it. And that's why a lot of people get so frustrated with themselves, because they avoid change, they procrastinate.
Right.
But once you realize you're programmed that way, if you have the right tools, which we give folks, you're able to make that change. But as Sal said it, it's all about, if you do this, and we do this with the class, like love, laughter, labor, leisure, leave. These are all 5 L's. If you put them together, right? If you take your other hand, when you have them in balance, your life is strong. It's when you only have 1 or 2, when everything falls apart. And Sal and I kind of found that out the hard way when we only had 1 or 2 in our life. I mean,
yeah, we lived it. I mean, I created the 5 L's and I didn't even live by them all the time. For me, one of the things I did, I was vice chairman of a multi-billion-dollar global company, and I 1L take over, labor.
Me too.
That's all I had. That was the most important thing in my life. And to a bad situation. My marriage failed. I was an absentee dad. I was flying around the world, the globe, and it was more important than anything. And I didn't have the other ones. I didn't have the love. I didn't have my self-love. I also would have stopped doing what I was doing. Definitely didn't have laughter. Didn't have the leisure. And I didn't know how to walk away or leave it or change what I was doing. So important. And what we talk about in the book too, Mike's lived through those same things where, we're not perfect. No. We make mistakes. We've been successful, but you've also had those situations where you fail, and that's okay. As Mike likes to say, how do you define fail?
Oh, so most people, when you ask someone, like, I'll ask you a question. Do you like to fail?
I hate failing, but I think it's a mindset of, trying to look at it as failure is just a lesson, a stepping stone, one subtraction to where the ultimate goal is. But I hate it.
Yeah, right. And that's usually the answer. And people are actually scared people won't even make change because they don't want to fail. Right.
Right.
It literally freezes them. And what we try to teach people is actually you need to take risk. You need to have change in your life because fail should be looked at FAIL as first attempt in learning. Okay.
Amazing.
It's just like, I don't know if you're a skier or not. A lot of people say if you're not falling, then you're not skiing hard enough, right? You got to be out there and you get your best learning lessons. I had a really bad failure learning lesson earlier on in my career that has literally changed the whole trajectory of my career. So people, you need to embrace failure. And I think that's what's key for us as a message is Sal and I in the book. And, when we're doing our seminars or our keynotes or any of that, we don't stand up there and go, oh, look how good we are. You must be positive all the time. Life is good. No, it's not like that. Okay. That's not reality. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days, but it's focusing on, brighter days are coming. It's staying positive. It's using the tools and it's staying focused on your balance because it's going to change all the time, and depending on where you are in your life or what's going on in your life. And for us, it's, just giving folks real tools that they can use to help them get through really rough times. And all of us have dealt with that for the last, even before COVID, things were crazy and COVID just took it to a whole nother level of nonsense. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. Just listening, to you explaining the 5 L's, it's so in alignment with what we talk about from, what success is to you. It's funny you said that because that's actually a question I ask at the end of every podcast. So, that question, it was kind of what sparked this interest that, hey, what else is out there? How can I, make an impact? But also selfishly, like I have all these questions and these things that not just myself, but people from all walks of life want to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one thing that I got there too is, you mentioned that you only lived one at one point, and both of y'all have been very successful in terms of your business life and, being in the C-suite and all of these things. Right. So for someone that's ambitious, this idea of balance is sometimes hard, but as you guys have said, it's so vital to longevity. Are there times in your life where you felt like if you didn't sacrifice some of that balance, you wouldn't get to where you were?
Can I take
How
that
much
one,
time
please?
do you have?
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Whole other book, probably. By the way,
Why don't you?
I'll start if that's okay.
You
You want to talk about a real world question. So here's the thing. There are organizations and there's a mindset out there that you must live, eat, and breathe and be 24/7 your job if you want to get ahead. Period. End of story. And that is a fallacy. There was a Harvard case study, actually Harvard Business Review study that showed people that took 10 days or less off a year, only 10 days, had a 35% chance of getting an increase, a promotion, or a raise. Ready for this? People that took more than 10 days off a year, 10 plus, had a 65.7% chance of getting an increase, a raise, or so on and so forth, because they took the time to recharge their batteries and they came back at their best selves. And Mason, I got to tell you, this is a guy at the ripe old age of 35, ended up in the CCU of a hospital thinking I was having a heart attack because all I was labor all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't have the right love in my life. There was no laughter, positive thinking, leisure. I had 23 days off a year. I left 22 of them on the table every year because maybe I got sick one day and stayed home because there were days I was going in, and leave. I didn't know how to change anything. I was all on all the time, and that's the mistake. That's the mistake a lot of people make. They feel that they've got to just be labor all the time to be successful. And it's not the case. I have to tell you that once I started applying, after I met this guy, and before I left my company that I was with for 21 years, and I started applying the L's in my life properly, everything skyrocketed for me. I was a better person. My mindset was better. My relationships were better. People liked me at work. Big difference. And it's about finding that. And I think there's this fallacy that's out there. It's a big proponent of it too, which is hard, is a lot of times there's almost reward for it in the job space of, you got to be on all the time. And, your boss sends an email over the weekend at 5:00 in the morning on a Sunday. And you're like, oh my God, I must answer because I need to look, it's like, it's crazy. Yeah. But here's the other thing too. A lot of it also goes back to what people see as success, to your point before. And there's this really unfortunate fantasy what success is, right? I have a nicer car. I have a nicer house. I have a nicer boat. I have more than you, so I'm more successful. And media, especially social media, perpetrates that in such a bad way, to the point where people are, think about it. Have you ever posted something on your social media like, oh God, my kids suck? No, it's, my kid just won the Nobel Peace Prize. Look how I'm so happy. My children are wonderful and I'm blessed. That's not life. Okay. Right. If you get under the surface, here's the bottom line. Nobody's life is perfect. You get under that, that 20% of the iceberg underneath the water. Life's messy. People have something, everybody's got something going on. No one's got it all together, but you have the social media showing everybody's so successful and push and drive and work harder and you'll get it. And it's killing people, literally. Yeah. There's tons of studies out about it right now. I'm sure you've heard the recent study that came out from the APA on the impact that it's happening. Young girls, because of all these stupid filters that are out there and that are making them look like they don't look. Right. It's not real. And these girls are like, why don't I look like that? Oh my God, I'm never going to be successful. I'm never going to be liked. And it's the suicide rate is going through the roof. Thank you very much, social media. And I'm not saying all social media is bad, right? But you have to limit it. And I think that's part of the danger.
Yeah. And especially the last 2 years or so. Kids not going to school, being at home all the time, always on social media, no distractions. Very interesting thing that we found, Mason, is we like to say that the 5 L's knows no boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it really hit home when we were talking to a few high school students, because Mike was running an NYU high school clinic on leadership, and we were getting 15, 16-year-old.
Oh my God. The response was insane.
And I never thought, I always thought this would be a great corporate thing. Yeah. Right. Teach the corporate world. And it still is. And we do that. But the impact that we're having, the 5 L's are having on these students and the pressure and everything that they've been going through. God, that's the part for me. And I like I said, I ran all over the world for nearly, give you my age, not really, almost 4 decades of running around the world. And this to me is the most important thing I've ever done in my life. And that is seeing the reaction that we're getting from people who attend a class, a keynote, some training or whatever we're doing. And they come up and say, you know what, you changed my life. You've given me the tools to have a better life. And we can share stories with you of what people have said to us after a training session.
Blowing us away.
It is just amazing. And again, we both said the same thing many times. God, I wish I really lived this.
Oh God. I wish I had it 30 years ago.
I invented it and I didn't live it all the time. Because you know what, Mason? Someone that we interviewed for the book said, you got to choose this.
Ooh, yes.
You got to choose your balance. And once you choose the balance, you can do anything. It was a wonderful interview that we did. And, and the book's full of that. The book is full of our life stories, ups and downs, success and failures.
Science and data.
Yeah. Science and data. A lot of science and data.
Sorry.
And
shameless plug.
Yeah. Well done. We interviewed, Tommy John from the Yankees, who's a friend of mine, his success and failures and how the 5 L's. What we did is when we did these interviews, we asked these people who were successful, we told them about the 5 L's as we did with you just now. And we would ask them, which one of these 5 L's stood out in your life the most for you, right, and helped you get through a very difficult situation? Obviously, with Tommy John, it was love. He had some difficult situations. His son was in an accident and whatnot. We interviewed David Perkins, a 4-star retired general who's been on the news recently because of the unfortunate situation in Ukraine. And who else we have? We got former CEO, chairman of Gray Worldwide Advertising. We've got someone who is the CEO of Girl Scouts, and that's another thing that we found out. Talking about how it can really hit everybody at any stage in your life. I mean, this person said, you got to get this to the youth. You've got to get this to the future leaders of this country and the world. So it knows no boundaries. I guess that's the point. Right.
Yeah. So when folks do read the book, they'll see we've had dozens of people that we interviewed. And for us, it was important to get people with all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, just coming from all different areas. And get, the funny thing is even it doesn't matter, nationality, race, sex, gender preference, whatever. Everybody wants the same thing in their life. Everybody just wants to find some balance and ways to get through the day to day. And I have to say, it was probably one of the most fascinating things for us to be, interviewing these folks. And it's just, the stories are incredible. So we're hoping we're able to capture and also, give their message, their wisdom out to the world as well too. But I know that was a long-winded answer to your question of people working too hard.
I love it. It was incredible. So Mike, I want to go back to the very beginning here where you heard about the 5 L's for the first time and you just went bonkers. You were like, this is amazing. You're jumping up and down and you just noticed the potential of what this could do for other people's lives and what Sal had created. And so tell me in that moment what that feeling was like, because I feel like a lot of people that are listening today are searching for something similar. That feeling of what's going to light me on fire. Like, I don't want to spend my life doing something that I don't love and enjoy, right? I think that's the labor of the 5 L's. So in that moment, explain kind of what you were feeling and how people can search that out in their lives as well.
It's a great question.
Wow. And this is why you do what you do. That is a phenomenal question. And I'm happy to share it. I'm going to be incredibly transparent and personal. As I mentioned, my whole focus was about, getting to the C-suite and making the money and all that stuff. And I would, a lot of times when I would do like presentations or I'd give a speech or do something, people would come up to me and go, "Oh my God, Mike, that was so good. You've missed your calling." And some people, and they mean that as you did a great job. But to me, I took offense to that. I was like, "What do you mean I missed my calling?" It's like, because I knew deep down inside I wasn't doing what I really wanted to do. I was just trying to give a life to my children. That's all it really was for me. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about self-love. It wasn't about there was zero passion and purpose. And again, nothing against my job or the company that I work for. They're wonderful people. It just wasn't what I was meant to do. Right. And it wasn't until, my father got sick and I had the epiphany, unfortunately, at his funeral, that I realized, and I had always taught in some way, shape, or form, at the collegiate, not in the corporate level, but I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted to touch more people. And that's when I was lucky enough to find and get approved by our friends at NYU, which is not an easy process. And I can tell you my first class, I stopped, in the middle of the class to give them a break. It was an evening class, a 3-hour class, gave them a break. I ran out into the hallway to call my wife. And it was just, I'm like, oh my God, now I know why Dad loved this so much. This is it. This is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. Oh my God. Love you. I'll talk to you later. But, and then ran back in class because the class was just on fire. And these were professionals. These were the folks that are coming back to, sharpen their skills. And it was incredible. And, but there was, for me, that euphoria wore off very quickly the next day when I got up back on, got up at 4 a.m. to get back on the train to head in the city or fly to whatever city or country. Yep. And I also wanted to do it bigger. I wanted to really make an impact on people's lives in a global way, if possible. I know that's big thinking, but like my dad, go big or go home. And when Sal told me the 5 L's for the first time, and again, it's like the craziest places. You don't realize what thing's going to hit you or how you're going to come across something. And the irony of how, all roads kind of led to that meeting for us. And, because he was kind of very like, oh, okay, I'll tell you about the 5 L's kind of thing. And I heard it and I was just like, oh my God. And the reason why I was like, oh my God, is because first of all, it's so real. It's so simple. And I just knew immediately, I just got this gut. It was just like, oh my God, I got this feeling. I was like, and I promise you it wasn't all the adult beverages, even though he'll say something different. I was just like, a little bit. It was just, to your listeners and to your point, when it hits you, it's like nothing you can put into words. And that's why I literally, and he's not joking. I was like, oh my God, you need to write a book. And he's looking at me like, this dude's nuts.
I really did. I actually looked over at Debbie and went,
and this is the guy you brought to my house. But I have to tell you, it was a couple of things. First of all, it was the simplicity of it. And because let's be honest, people aren't going to do 15 billion steps. It's just not in our nature. We like instant gratification. We want something quickly. Why do most diets fail? Because, people want, I've got my reunion next week. I need to lose 50 pounds. Not going to happen, right? They want this instant gratification. And to me, this was something very tangible that you could give people right away with some real substance behind it. And I turned to Sal and I was just like, you don't understand. I live, eat, and breathe leadership development, helping others. I mean, I read all the folks that are out there. I listen to all the podcasts. I'm a total geek, self-proclaimed leadership geek. I geek out on this stuff. I'm like, oh God, I get all excited about it. So I said to him, I'm like, I listen, and I'm not going to disparage any of the other people that are out there that have their programs or whatever, because some of them are very, very good, some of them are not as good. But I turned to him and I said, "This is amazing. You've got to get this out there. We've got to get this out." And like lame, but it was life. It was that aha epiphany moment for me. It was that smack in the face that finally, after, and I'm going to age myself right now, at the time I was 49. I finally figured it out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And then, it just, every time we got together, Mason, even the first night writing the book, I feel so bad for Debbie because we're down in the room and it was just like, it was like sparks. We're like, high fiving each other.
It was pretty crazy.
It was nuts, loud, very loud.
And I was, sitting there going, I really didn't want to write a book, but it grew on me. And then each night, and he would come over to the house in Port Washington at 7:30 because he was working all day, and start over again. And we'd do it till 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I got to tell you, Mace, it's like, we done? We gotta go.
Oh my God, it was energy time.
Almost there.
Yeah. It was
so
crazy,
that's how it happened. And then the book it's very simple. It follows the whole idea. It's 5 chapters, 5 L's. each L has its own chapter. Really? And it's exciting. We're very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. I'm so excited to see it come to life because again, it's been sitting in the brain for over 30 years, and then to have Mike's like a lever, or fulcrum, as we call it, right? Pull me in the right direction to push that thing to happen. And like I said, it is life changing. It's helping people, and I never thought it would be that way. And we have people coming up to us, and here's one for you.
Yeah,
this is crazy. This is crazy.
This is a good one.
We did a training session. I'm not going to tell you who that was for.
Just recent.
Yeah, recent one. And there was this woman in there. She was engaged to be married, and marriage is coming up in like a month or so. So we do the 5 L's training, and we go back to the same client, and the person who was heading up the training for the employee engagement grabs us and says, "Do you know what's her name? In your class, that one of the first classes." And said, "He goes, yeah, sure. Why? What happened?" She goes, "She was getting married." She goes, "Yeah, she put the 5 L's in her wedding vows."
She changed her wedding vows to put the 5 L's in it. She was getting married the next week.
Wow.
So I'm looking at him going, is it really this powerful?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
Well, I have to say just the other day, one last story, because there's so many, and I have to say, Mason, it really is when you can't put it into words how it feels when someone comes up and says, "Oh my God, you've changed my life. Thank you." And we had just wrapped up one of our events, and I was off with a group of people because most folks come up and go, "How was the book coming out?" They're talking us and asking us questions. And
is that the one from church?
Yeah. Actually, you should say
yeah.
it. You should
So
tell it.
Mike's off talking to somebody, and this woman comes up to me and says, I was in church on Sunday, and I'm having a really difficult time in my life. Single mom, and I was praying for something. Something I can have in my life to help me get through this tough time. I'm going, okay. And she goes, you know what you did? And I said, no. She goes, you've given me the hammer and you've given me the nail. And I thank you. I know I can get through this now.
Yeah, I have the tools.
I have the tools.
She had our workbook and our notebook, and she's walking out. It's just like, when someone says that, and when we kind of joke, I was like, wow, I guess we're doing God's work now. I mean, not to get too religious, but we're spiritual guys, and we believe that everything happens for a reason, and there's a plan and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And for someone to come up and say, I was in church and I was praying for an answer, and you guys were the answer.
Yeah,
I mean, that just
blew me away.
It doesn't get better than that. And I think that's what everybody's looking for. Everyone's looking just for something to help them get through the day.
There's a certain feeling that you get when I think you're living in alignment with your purpose, your higher power, or whatever it is. I agree with you. I think everybody is placed on this earth for a reason. And I think there is, a higher power above us. I believe in God, but it's interesting when I found and felt alignment in my life, and I was like, wow, this is what this feels like.
Yeah.
And then it's so easy to get off that path, right?
Way easy.
When you feel that feeling for the first time, it's joy. To me, that's what it is. It's joy.
Total. Yeah.
Because there's a big difference between feeling happy and feeling joy. And I remember sitting there, I was just like, I hope everyone can feel this, right? And I think that's what you guys are doing, is you're giving people the ability to feel that alignment in their life through balance. But that was a big driver for me. It's like, how many people out there really haven't felt this feeling of alignment with their purpose and and like this power that it brings when you're living that out in your day-to-day life? So I commend you guys for doing what you're doing, and you're obviously making a huge impact. So it's amazing. But that feeling, I want everyone listening to, listen to that voice that's calling to you, because everybody feels that pull towards something, right? We all have that one thing that puts us on fire.
Well, I got to tell you, Mason, and I can finally say for the first time in my life, I'm living.
Yeah.
Because before I was getting by, and you said it, it's very easy to fall off the path of your purpose. And, there's a real reason for that. And Sal and I like to call it familiar misery, right? It's what you know. It's what you're comfortable with. It hasn't killed me yet.
It's not the best thing for you.
But that could be scarier. Why am I going to make the change? And a lot of people fall right back into that pattern because it's what they know, as opposed to following their passion and their purpose. And I personally believe, and again, not to get too spiritual, but I believe that's probably one of the worst things you can do is waste your talents. Everyone's given a talent, and if you're not using that is the saddest, most depressing thing. And to your point, I mean, I'm sure you could write a book on it. Once you feel that, when you're finally doing what you're meant to do,
that's amazing.
You really can't put it in words.
Amazing.
It's incredible. It's your point. I think you said the word is joy. You finally feel joy. You feel happiness. You're like, wow, okay, thank God I finally woke up and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's like, took me long enough, but I got there.
Yeah. You spoke earlier on, you could write a whole book on leave. And I think this is probably one of the stronger L's. They're all amazing, right? And they all link together. But I think a lot of people deal with this one differently, because whether it is a relationship or whether, it is something bigger than that, a company or a passion or something they've been chasing for so long, and they're like, do I keep going after this? Like, when is the right time to pivot? And the world's kind of painted that picture of don't quit, don't ever quit, don't ever quit. And there's a difference between quitting and having a pivot and a change and being able to put yourself in new situations and be vulnerable to grow. Yeah. So to someone out there that's dealing with that, and they maybe have felt a stirring of like, should I move on? Should I not? And they're battling with that. How do they best go about dealing with that L of leave?
Good question.
You want to take that one?
Yeah,
sure.
We talk about the even the checklist.
Yeah. So first of all, what everyone needs to realize right out of the gates, first of all, they have to stop beating themselves up for avoiding change. And we just talked about that before. It's that fear of failure. And if we really boil it down, why we're afraid to fail, it's because we care way too much what other people think. That's the bottom line. It's, you might let some people down. Yeah, look, unless you're a surgeon or someone that's saving lives, all right, if it's not life or death, that's a whole other ballgame. You got it. People are just way too scared to fail because they're too afraid of what people are going to think of them. Oh, I'm going to look like a failure. They're not going to think I'm good at blah, blah. That's all noise. That's all noise. You will learn from your biggest failures. And I think, it's funny you say the leave is probably the one of the stronger L's. It's actually, believe it or not, people don't leave because they don't have enough self-love. It goes back to that.
Absolutely.
And they have to think they're worth it. And a lot of people don't. They don't. For so many unfortunate reasons, people do not think that they're worth it. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve to be happy, right? So they stay stuck in this. And there's real tools that you need to use. And there's a lot of things that we give, and folks will see it in the book or if they go through one of our programs, that the first and foremost, you have to accept and realize right out of the gates that you're programmed to avoid change. But here's the great news. There's such a thing out there called neuroplasticity. And what that means is no matter how old you are, I don't care, the old dog, new tricks, you can actually still learn something new. So once you know you have this aversion, there are steps you can take, right, to be able to change that and embrace change as opposed to fear it. And so we show folks, first of all, you have to write down what it is you want. You have to put your goal in writing. You got to bring it into the physical world, because if it's all up here, it'll never happen, right? And then we highly recommend, you do what's a gap analysis. Here's where you are today. Here's where you want to be. And in the middle is the gap, all those things that are missing from the future you. Then you lay out an action and development plan, and it should only be like 15 things. And the first 10 should be near goals, and the last 5 should be long-term goals. And they need to be real, smart, actionable tools, meaning, simple, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, right? Real things to get those items that you're missing. And then you need to put it somewhere where you can see it every day. I don't care, put it on your fridge, put it on your screensaver, stick it on your kid's head. I don't care, wherever they can see it every day and revisit it. And then use micro habits, right? So people are like, oh, what are micro habits? Well, here's an easy one. Micro habit. I got to get up at 7 o'clock and I get up at 8 o'clock today. All right. Well, one day you get up at 7:45. Next day you get up at 7:30. And it's these little tiny steps that no longer are a habit. They just become part of who you are, right? So I think that the thing is once you have these tools, it takes the fear out of it. But here's the other thing, and I say this all the time, and definitely for all your listeners, you got to be patient with yourself. If I ask people who your biggest critic is, everybody says themselves.
Yeah.
You're human. You're going to stumble. You're going to fall. You're going to fail. That is okay. Stop beating yourself up. Get back up and keep going. And that's all that matters, because if you're waiting for someone else to make you happy, you're going to be waiting a very long time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you need to be your biggest cheerleader, which most of us aren't programmed to do, right? Because, oh God, that's vain. Oh, how selfish, right? No, you need to really have that self-love to be able to do it. And I think, to your point, Mason, you know in your gut when it's time to leave.
Yep.
Yeah.
You do. You feel it. But a lot of people like, oh, no, I really don't know. I'm not. It's that familiar misery. It's not that bad yet. It's not killing me enough. It's the devil I know versus the devil I don't know.
Still a devil.
Still the devil.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I think most people do know when it's time to pivot. And change is good. I can tell you that every change that when we spoke to the people in our book has always been positive. Here's something for you and actually, yeah, all your listeners. 80, this is statistically proven, 80 to 90% of what you worry about will not happen. 80 to 90%. And most people go, and you know, there's a reason why worry kills more people than work, because more people worry than work, right? It's just that simple. And you know, we do real quick, and I'll shut up after this, but we do this color thing with our students and at our events and stuff. And if you wouldn't mind, can I do it with you real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you hear the word love, what you might not realize is, so when we hear things, we're very emotional creatures. We not only attach an emotion to it, but subconsciously to that emotion, we attach a color. Okay. So when you hear the word love, what colors comes to mind? Don't think. What's the first color?
Red.
Easy, right? Okay. Laughter. What's the first color that comes to mind?
Ooh, blue.
Okay. Labor. What's the first color that comes to mind?
Black.
Okay. Leisure. What's the first color that comes to mind?
Yellow.
Okay. And leave. What's the first color that comes to mind?
Ooh. Nothing really. I mean, orange.
Okay. All right. It's a good color. All right. So
nothing pop for leave. Everything is like kind of
boom,
boom,
but
boom,
yeah.
boom, boom.
The problem is you had to think about it, and therein lies the problem. Okay. So love, we always get red. That's the big color because everyone thinks, you know, unicorns, butterflies, Valentine's Day, love, right? Okay. That's what they think about. Laughter is usually a happy color. So it's generally orange. That's the big one. Labor, believe it or not, especially after, thank you, COVID-19, everyone's black. I mean, it's a dark color, right? But usually navy blue is the big one because people think of, you know, blue collar working.
Yep.
Leisure is usually green, right? Because they think of spending money, you know, out in the ocean or whatever on, you know, green fields, all that kind of stuff. Leave, 98% of the time is a dark color.
Yeah.
It's black, dark brown, gray, because people actually equate leave and change to the actual, to death, not to death, to actual death. They equate it. So they see something dark and scary. What we found through all our interviews, and again, through all of our research, the people that had the best balance in their life, the people that were the happiest and the most successful, you know what color they said when we said leave?
What?
White or yellow. They saw a bright color because it was opportunity, not something to be scared of. And I think for your listeners, that's the whole point. You got to change your mind to embrace change and not be afraid of it. And it makes such a difference.
Yeah, that's so cool. Guys, I love how there is both sides of the story when it comes to the science of it with neuroscience, because I geek out on that stuff as well.
Yeah, there you go.
The practical tips that people can utilize. Like this is science, and then this is something that, you know, is more on the emotional, the EQ side that you guys can combine together. I mean, it's a perfect match for people to say this stuff works, right? And you're seeing it work in so many people's lives. So when can everybody get the book? I know we talked about it a little bit. Where can they get it? Where can they find more of this work? Because at this point, if they're still listening, they want more.
Okay, well, we hope you're still listening. So first of all, everyone can check us out on www.unparalleledperformance.com. You can also email us at info@unparalleledperformance.com. The targeted date for the book is probably mid to end July, potentially August, but we're sending out updates on a regular basis. one of the things folks can also do is you can follow us on almost all social media. I know I was bashing it, but we put out good stuff. But all social media, and every day we're putting out something to help people. So Monday we put out a checklist to help folks get through the week.
Yeah, it's a 5L's weekly to-do list, and it's each L, and it asks a question. And you look at that question, and you better have that going in your life that week. And it's really a home run, that one.
Right. And Wednesdays we put out a 5L's leadership moment, because you're a leader in your life. Even if you're not leading people, you're a leader in your life. And then Friday, to get you into a good weekend, we put out a 5L moment. So people are able to follow us that way prior to the book. But when the book comes out, it's going to be, it's going to be on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. If you want an actual autographed signed copy, they can order that on our website. So all of that will be very easily accessible, and we'll be pushing out more information.
Absolutely. And I will be pushing it out on my page as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I always say, you have to tailor that social media approach. That's a big topic in today's day and age. For a tool that's so powerful, it can also be very consuming and time wasting. So to be able to tailor and have good messages coming up when you do get on, I think that's so important, and you're going to find that with these guys. So I'm gonna ask the question that I always ask, right? And I want both of you, we can go down the list here, but what is your definition of success?
Well, it is having this balance in your life. It truly is. I know that sounds a little corny, having gone through the whole thing, but take it from someone who, focused on one of the L's for a very long time in his life and saw what that can do to you. For me, it really is. It's knowing who you are, loving yourself, who you are, and go right through them. It's, I laugh at myself at times. I do. I make mistakes. I go, God, why did I do that for?
Yeah, you gotta laugh at yourself. Yeah.
And I, when you get to the labor part, this is my labor. This is my passion and purpose. Finally, after 40, years of running around, this is my true passion and purpose. So I'm going through the balance here: leisure, walk on a beach, my me time. I love to cook, put a little Sinatra or Dean Martin on. I got my red wine going and I'm cooking. That's my me time. That's my leisure. So I'm living it. I'm finally doing that. And then leave. I've learned to do more pivoting, adjust those sails to say, okay, enough of that. Let's get over there. So it really is, Mason. It's for me, that's my success.
Yeah. Amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, my turn. It's just, for me, and not to repeat what I said before, unfortunately, I had to lose someone who I love more than life to realize not to waste your talents. Like you said, right? Find your purpose and your passion. And if you follow what you love, the money does follow. I know a lot of people say, oh, that's a bunch of hoo-ha.
No, it's true.
It's real.
It's real.
It's real. And to me, it really is, at the end of the day, we're put on this earth for a very short period of time. We're here to help each other. And for me, I feel now, finally, I woke up after how many years, how many days? For me, the true measure of success is about the amount of lives you touch and leave for the better. That was my dad. He tried getting it through my very thick skull for, I don't even want to tell you how long. It's embarrassing. And unfortunately, it took losing him to finally wake up and go, oh, I get it. He was right. And I've been living that ever since.
One of the things, Mason, is we'd like to say this to people. When you look at the 5L's and you choose to find the balance, choose it now. Don't wait. Don't wait. Someone said something to me many years ago. Here goes my age again. I had turned 60, and someone said to me, "Hey, Sal, how many more years do you think you're going to be on this earth?" I looked at my family and how long my parents lived and whatnot. And I said, I don't know, 20 more years. 80, I guess. So the question was, you have 20 years left. I go, yeah, 20 years.
Sounds
you think
like
that's a long time? I go, it's 20 years. And then the second question was, what's your favorite season? And I said, fall, autumn. And he goes, what's your favorite holiday? I said, Christmas.
Here it comes.
So what you're saying is you have 20 falls left in your life and 20 Christmases left in your life. And after this one goes, you have 19 falls and 19 Christmas. Don't wait. Do it now. And if you get the balance in your life or you're thinking about it, do it. Grab it. You can show that.
Yeah, one of the things that we like to give out is, for us at the end of everything is, you gotta have that self-love, and you gotta choose your balance. And one of the things that we talk about is attitude of gratitude and having something in your life to keep you focused on that. And sometimes, you need something to put in your hand to actually get it going. I actually carry gratitude stones that make me stay focused on what I'm grateful for. But I also carry this as what we give out to everybody. It's a 5Ls Vegas style poker chip. And we tell folks, you have the tools now, you got to choose it, but you always got to bet on yourself to win. And this is for, folks to carry with them so they stay, sometimes you just need it. You got to stay focused, and people need reminders. I think that's the biggest thing is you need reminders in your life, because it's easy. To your point, Mason, it's very easy to fall off the path. It's so easy to get lazy and sit back. And,
I wish we had the reminders back then, back
when.
I need reminders.
Just ask my wife. She'll tell you how many reminders I need.
That's amazing. Guys, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I mean, I know that everybody is going to be touched by this in one way or another. And each of those 5Ls may sting a little bit more, but they're all so valuable, like you said. So it's been an honor to have y'all on. I'm so excited to read the book, and I know everyone listening is as well. So thank you guys so much for coming on the show today.
Mason, our honor. Thank you for having us. We're so excited for this. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Breathe in Air podcast. Go check out Mike and Sal. Buy the book. Let them know what you thought about the show today. And as always, the price of admission is this. Share this with somebody that you think could benefit from it, right? And then put it into action. Our mantra is everyday action, extraordinary mindset. The action is in front of the mindset, right? So put it into action and share this with someone who you care about, who you love. There's a 5L right there. So once again, Mike and Sal, thank you guys so much. And we will be in talk soon, I hope.
Awesome.
And the book is going to do amazing. I already know it.
Thank you so much, Mason. This was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much.